Imagine a world where fierce seafaring warriors land on your shores, their longships cutting through the mists, bearing tales of plunder, conquest, and ambition. These men, Vikings, raiders, and settlers, were not just brutal invaders. They were also farmers, merchants, and craftsmen who transformed the lands they touched. Nowhere was their influence more profound than in England, where they clashed with the Saxons in battles that would reshape history. Only the most bravest Vikings set foot on English land. But how did the Vikings leave their mark on modern England? And who were the dominant Viking tribes? As we unravel this epic saga, we'll uncover not only how England was forged in the crucible of war and compromise, but also how the Saxons managed to rise from ashes to reclaim their land. The Viking Age and England's transformation. The Viking Age from 793 until 1066 AD began dramatically with the sacking of Lindisfarne, a Northumbrian monastery, in 793 AD. This was not merely a random raid, it marked the dawn of a new chapter in English history. The Vikings, primarily from modern-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, began their incursions with small-scale raids, but quickly escalated to full-scale invasions and settlements. England, a patchwork of Saxon kingdoms like Wessex, Mercia, and Northumbria, found itself under relentless Viking pressure. The Vikings were not monolithic, and their motives ranged from acquiring riches to seeking fertile land for settlement. Their legacy can still be seen today in England's language, like Thursday, which comes from Thor's day and window, which means wind eye, and many more. They established laws, culture, and even England's genetic makeup. But to understand how they shaped modern England, we must delve into the story of their dominance, their rivals, and the enduring legacy of their interactions with the Saxons. Three primary Viking groups, Norwegians, Swedes, and Danes, played significant roles in the invasions of England. However, it was the Danes, under the banner of the Great Heathen Army, who became the most dominant force. The Great Heathen Army, Denmark's conquest of England. In 865 AD, a coalition of Viking warriors, known as the Great Heathen Army, landed in East Anglia. Led by legendary figures such as Ivar the Boneless, Halfdan Ragnarsson, and Ubba, this army was far more organized and ambitious than the raiding parties of earlier decades. They were not merely seeking plunder, they aimed to conquer and rule. The Danes systematically targeted the Saxon kingdoms. Northumbria fell first, with its capital York becoming a major Viking stronghold. Mercia followed, and East Anglia succumbed after the martyrdom of its king, Edmund. By the 870s, much of England was under Danish control, forming what became known as the Danelaw, territories governed by Viking laws and customs. Jorvik, which today is known as York, emerged as the epicenter of Viking England, a bustling hub of trade and culture. Viking settlers integrated with local populations, leaving a lasting imprint on English place names, like those ending in by or thorpe, and introducing Norse words still used today, such as sky, law, and knife. The Saxon resistance, Alfred the Great, and beyond. The story of the Vikings in England is incomplete without their fierce adversaries, the Saxons. Among them, one figure stands tall, Alfred the Great, the King of Wessex. In 871 AD, Alfred ascended the throne of Wessex, the last major Saxon kingdom standing against the Viking tide. At first, his reign was marked by relentless defeats. The Vikings, led by Guthrum, seemed unstoppable, even forcing Alfred into hiding in the marshes of Æthelstan. But it was here, amid despair, that Alfred plotted his comeback. In 878 AD, Alfred led a decisive victory at the Battle of Edington, forcing Guthrum to accept baptism and a treaty that divided England between Saxons and Vikings. This treaty formalized the Danelaw but also marked the beginning of the Saxon fightback. Alfred's genius lay not just in warfare but in governance. He reorganized his army, constructed a network of fortified towns, burhs, and established a navy to counter Viking raids. He also championed education and law, creating a cultural revival that strengthened Saxon identity. Under Alfred's successors, particularly his grandson Æthelstan, the Saxons gradually reclaimed territory from the Danelaw. In 937 AD, Æthelstan's victory at the Battle of Brunanburh united England, albeit temporarily, under Saxon rule. The final act, the Vikings' return. The Viking-Saxon struggle reached its zenith in the 11th century with the arrival of Sweyn Forkbeard and his son Cnut the Great, who launched a new wave of invasions. Sweyn briefly claimed the English crown in 1013, but it was Cnut who established a North Sea empire encompassing England, Denmark, and Norway. Cnut's reign, 1016 to 1035, was a high point of Viking influence in England. Unlike earlier conquerors, he sought to integrate Viking and Saxon cultures, earning respect as a ruler who upheld English traditions while introducing Scandinavian governance. His legacy underscores the deep, lasting impact of the Vikings on England. The Saxon revival and the end of the Viking Age. The Viking Age in England ended with the Norman conquest of 1066. Ironically, the Normans themselves were descendants of Vikings who had settled in northern France. The Battle of Hastings, where William the Conqueror defeated Harold Godwinson, marked the end of Saxon rule and the beginning of a new era. However, by this time, the foundations of modern England, its legal system, administrative divisions, and even its language, bore the unmistakable imprint of both Viking and Saxon contributions. The legacy of the Vikings and Saxons in modern England, a tale of two peoples. The Vikings and Saxons represent two sides of the same coin: ambition, resilience, and the will to endure. The Vikings, with their daring raids and settlements, brought change and innovation. The Saxons, through their tenacity and adaptability, preserved a sense of unity and identity. Together, their story is one of conflict, compromise, and the creation of a nation. As you walk through modern England, from the ancient streets of York to the fortified towns of Wessex, you are walking in the footsteps of giants. The echoes of the Viking and Saxon struggle remind us that history is not just about kings and battles. It's about the forging of a people. And in that crucible, the England we know today was born. What do you think might have happened if the Vikings had succeeded in fully conquering England? Would the language, culture, and identity of modern England be the same? Let us know in the comments below. The answer lies in the enduring legacy of this epic saga, a tale of how two fierce peoples shaped the destiny of a nation. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who enjoys an epic history tale. Thanks so much for watching. Take care and stay strong.